The other thing what are your thoughts just on the contract situation? Do you see anybody, we know that Ward was restructured. Do you see them doing that to like a Jack Conklin and trying to push things to incentives so that you can guard against another injury-filled season?
I think they're going to try. Conklin's contract is set up in a way that the player has a lot of the leverage there, as opposed to Nick Chubb. We expect that that's going to be an extension or some kind of adjustment. Conklin's contract's really difficult. They can actually do some restructuring with Jedrick Wills' fifth-year option that can open up some cap space. Again, they have a lot of that flexibility if players are in the range that they think are appropriate.
You mentioned JOK. What do you think they do with Greg Newsome? I would assume, I think the number came out when the cap went out. The fifth-year option is like $13.3 million. I'm assuming they're going to pick it up and figure out what they do relative to long-term later.
Yeah, I had this conversation with someone in the league. Even if Greg Newsome was a top 50 cornerback, and we can talk about that later, I think asset allocation is going to make it really difficult for the Browns to hold on to him long term if you believe Martin Emerson is similarly talented or even a little bit better. And so I think trading Greg Newsome, not because he's not good and all of those kind of things that some of the fans will say, oftentimes Newsome is the one chasing things down because things broke down. He just happens to be that cornerback. So I think from an asset allocation, he makes sense as a trade candidate. And in the NFL, cornerbacks are always really highly valued. It'll just be interesting. Can they get a third? Can they get a second? Can they get a player along with that? Just to kind of, not because Greg's not good, but to try to figure out what the roster needs to look like.
Well, the other thing is, cornerback is the position. They seem to be able to identify guys that can play in the league. I mean, it doesn't matter. Cameron Mitchell, Greg Newsome, MJ Emerson, that's been the sweet spot for these guys drafting.
They haven't. Even A.J. Green did a really good job for the team as an undrafted free agent. And it's interesting, Cameron Mitchell is a very good friend of Greg Newsome's, but it seems like drafting him did create some opportunity to move on from Greg because you have those other guys on the outside.